Hey, what's up guys? This is Vincent, and in this Lightroom Classic tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the calibration tool. So Lightroom has this dedicated calibration panel to help you correct color, and there's a few different sliders. There's the shadows slider. So if I want to make the shadows a little bit more green, I move it to the left, or I can move it to the right and make it more magenta. And then we have the RGB primaries of red, green, and blue. So let's take a look at the sky here. So the sky, I want to make it a little bit more indigo, so I can move the hue slider to the left. And if I want, I can increase the saturation. Keep in mind that the calibration tool, it impacts all the colors that you're targeting. So anything that has blue in it, even if it doesn't look like there's blue in it, will be adjusted. So take a look at the grass here. Before it was green, and now it's a little bit more yellowish brown because I changed the blue primary, and there was a little bit blue here even though you could not see it with your eyes. And then there's the version numbers. I recommend just sticking with the most current version, because if I change it to a different version, it may not be compatible with the color profile that you have. Right now I have Adobe Color, which is the standard I'm using, but there's also these other Adobe colors, including Adobe Standard. So let's say, for example, I changed the calibration version to 3. The image slightly changed in color, and the color profile was changed as well because Adobe Color isn't compatible with the calibration version. So always stick with the most current calibration version. So I'm just going to reset this. Now you may be wondering why there's a calibration panel when there's already the color mixer and the color grading tool. The best way to give you an example of that is I'll go to this image here. And now how the color mixer and the HSL sliders work is it targets specific colors if that color is visible on the photo. So let's say, for example, I'm on the green HSL panel here of hue, saturation, and luminance. There is green in the shadows, but you can't really see it. But let's see what happens to the sky when I change the green. If I change the hue, nothing happens to the sky. And if I change the saturation, nothing happens to the sky. So I'll increase the saturation to 100. I'll increase the hue to 100. And I'll increase the luminance to 100. So as you can see, nothing happened to the sky. If I wanted to target the sky, I would need to target the individual colors as I see them with my eyes. So I can change the blue like this if I want to. But on the other hand, how calibration works is it targets pixel by pixel, and if that pixel has any part of the RGB primaries, because color is composed of RGB values. So let's say, for example, remember how I wasn't able to change the hue or saturation using the color mixer and the HSL panel? Watch what happens when I use the calibration tool with the green primary. I'm going to change the hue, and I'm going to increase the saturation. So you may have picked up that difference. The sky, the color of the sky changed, as well as this reddish orange in the background, just by changing the green primary. Let's see the before and after. This is the before, and this is the after by adjusting the green primary hue and saturation slider. So in other words, the calibration tool, it impacts any color or pixels that has any part of the primary colors, whereas the HSL slider in the color mixer, it only impacts color that's visible on the screen. And keep in mind, all this color mixer and the calibration tool and the color profiles, they're all part of color grading or color management, and it really depends on how you see your color and if your screen or your monitor is calibrated correctly. So I wouldn't worry too much of a color being shown correctly or not on your screen, unless you're doing like product photography or you're doing some type of like film editing for commercial purposes. Other than that, playing with these sliders of color mixer calibration is just to add your own artistic touch and make your image look a little bit better. Hopefully now you guys understand how the calibration tool works and how it's different from color grading or color mixer, and especially the HSL sliders. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, and check out my photography on Instagram. And as always, live easy, sleep breezy, and stay lovely.